This is the second part of the frequency response of bipolar junction transistors. In this lecture, I'm going to discuss the low frequency and the high frequency response separately, because for the low frequency, we generally use the low frequency model of the BJT, and for high frequency response, we use high frequency model of bipolar junction transistor. The low frequency model is just what I have discussed in my earlier lecture, that is the H parameter model, that is the low frequency small signal and low frequency model. The same model I'm going to use over here for the low frequency response, but for high frequency response I will consider a different circuit, so that I will discuss during the lecture. As I have discussed in my previous lecture regarding the frequency response, that the frequency response which is associated with the cutoff frequencies, that means the lower cutoff frequency and the higher cutoff frequency. So these cutoff frequencies are associated with different capacitors. So if either internal or external capacitors exist within the circuit or within the model, then each capacitor defines a separate cutoff frequency. Therefore, the lower cutoff frequency, what I'm going to discuss in this lecture, that depends upon three external capacitors that I will clear in this lecture. Similarly, the high frequency response depends upon the several capacitors. Those are mainly internal to the device, or internal to the high frequency model. And in addition to that, the HFE, which is the uh, forward current gain, what I have considered in my earlier lectures, that current gain is depending upon the frequency. So therefore, in this lecture I am going to consider the frequency dependency of this forward current gain. So due to this frequency dependency of this HFE and the internal capacitors, the high frequency response are going to be defined. In this slide I have presented two frequency responses, one for the RC coupled amplifiers and another for the direct coupled amplifiers. Now, RC coupled amplifier are those what I was discussing throughout my previous lectures. That means the voltage divider circuit with the external capacitors. That means the source capacitor Cs, the emitter bypass capacitor Cb, and the collector capacitor Cc. So those capacitors are external to the circuit in order to block. Some capacitors are used to block the DC current from the input source. Some are used to bypass the emitter current, which is the bypass capacitor, and some is used to block the DC current, or when the one stage of amplifier is connected with the second stage of the amplifier. So that is the CC, which is used at the collector, because through the collector the second stage of the amplifier gets connected with the previous stage. So these three capacitors I have shown, or I have discussed in my earlier lectures, that these three capacitors are external to the device or external to the circuit of the amplifier circuit, what I have discussed. And for this RC coupled amplifier, we can see there exists a lower cutoff frequency FL, because uh, in my last lecture I told that uh, a band pass response is composed of a high pass response followed by a low pass response. So if you divide this response, so you can find the left hand side, this response is looking like a high pass type response, whereas the right hand side, this response is looking like a low pass type response. So basically you can simplify this band pass response. This is a band pass response because a certain band is being passed. It is unlike the high pass, which is passing all frequency or all higher frequency greater than the cutoff frequency, or it is unlike even the low pass filter, which passes all the low frequency less than the cutoff frequency. Rather, it is passing a band which exists between the higher cutoff frequency FH and the lower cutoff frequency FL. So that is why any kind of device, or the mostly the device what we do use uh, possesses such kind of band pass responses. Now if you compare this response, that means the response of the RC coupled amplifier with that of the direct coupled amplifier, you can see that there exists no cutoff low, no lower cutoff frequency for the direct coupled amplifier, which means that if you do not use these external capacitors, the bandwidth is generally larger than the previous one. Means, suppose you are using a voltage divider circuit where you have used these three capacitors, and definitely you are going to find a frequency response which is passing a band between some lower cutoff frequency and higher cutoff frequency. That means it has a finite lower cutoff frequency. But when you will open these three capacitors from the circuit, then you will find that the frequency response is appearing flat starting from the some lower frequency range or 0 hertz. So definitely the direct coupled amplifier has a higher frequency ranges than the RC coupled amplifier, provided you are using same amplifier or similar amplifier while you are comparing these two responses. So why I am telling these things? In order to make you understand that this lower cutoff frequency of the RC coupled amplifier is appearing due to these three capacitors. And as I'm discussing the voltage divider circuit where these three capacitors are mandatory in order to block the DC signals and the bypass capacitor. Therefore, these lower cutoff frequency is unavoidable. Although there are kind of configurations we will use when I will discuss the differential amplifier. There, the arrangement of the bipolar junction transistors can be made in such a way that we can avoid these three capacitors. So therefore, for the differential amplifier, we can gain the advantage of full length bandwidth. But for the single amplifier using the bipolar junction transistor, that means the voltage divider bias circuit or the fixed bias circuit or cell bias circuit, whatever I have discussed in my earlier lecture, for all those we must have to use these three capacitors, and definitely we should have this lower cutoff frequency. Now, what about the higher cutoff frequencies? Higher cutoff frequencies are not appearing due to this lower cutoff frequency, because you should remember that when I was analyzing the CE, the bypass capacitor, I have assumed that during the range of operations, all these three capacitors except these emitter capacitors uh, I have considered they are behaving as a short circuit. That means within this range of the frequencies, these lower cutoff frequencies, capacitors which are responsible for the lower cutoff frequencies, they behave as a short circuit. And since they are behaving as a short circuit, so that is why the output voltage is attaining its peak when you are operating at the mid band frequency. So this is the mid band range of the frequency, and this gain AV mid, which is called the mid band gain, and you can see from here the 70% of the mid band gain is this one. At this point, the 70% of the mid band gain intersects this response at certain point, and if you extend that point on the x-axis, that means the frequency axis, so that defines the lower cutoff frequency. And similarly, that intersection on the higher frequency side is called the higher cutoff frequency. Now the higher cutoff frequency is appearing due to the internal capacitors. So I will discuss those capacitors are basically the parasitic capacitors, and which appears due to the junctions, that means the collector to base junction, collector to emitter junction, and emitter to base junctions, like all these junctions. And in addition to these parasitic capacitors, the network capacitors may influence these cutoff frequency. But other than these two, the major role which plays to define this cutoff frequency is the frequency dependencies of the forward current gain, or which is HFE. So that I'm going to discuss. So for both RC coupled or the direct coupled amplifier, these three factors, that means the parasitic capacitors, the network capacitors, and the frequency dependency of the forward current gain, are going to define the higher cutoff frequency, whereas the lower cutoff frequency is defined due to these external capacitors. Low frequency response. As I told, that this low frequency range, this range is looking like a high pass filter, and this cutoff frequency which is appearing at this point is due to the three capacitors which are external to the device. Therefore, in my previous lecture, as I have explained, that each capacitor defined a cutoff frequency when some resistors are associated with the capacitor. So in this case also, we have to investigate the small signal low frequency model. So what are the equivalent resistors which are coming and which are appearing to associate each of these capacitors? And here also I will consider, when I'm considering one capacitor for my analysis, I should consider all other capacitors are behaving as a short circuit. At first, I'm going to consider the Cs which is connected with the source resistance Rs in series. And as I told in my previous slide, that while I am considering one capacitor for my analysis, other two capacitors I will consider as shorted. Therefore, the Ce is shorted, which makes this Re or which makes this emitter to be connected with the ground directly, bypassing this Re, and this RL should be connected directly with the collector, and which will make this RC parallel to the RL, because we know when we are doing AC analysis, all the DC voltage sources must be connected or shorted with the ground, and that will make RC parallel to the RL, and that also will make this RB1 parallel with this RB2, and this parallel combination I have named earlier RB, and that same name I am carrying over here also. Now, as I'm going to observe the equivalent resistances which are associating these CAs, so that can easily be found. One resistance is the RS, and another resistance, if you look from this side, so the equivalent Thevenin resistance will be that resistance which will associate these CAs, and we know what is that resistance. I have calculated in my earlier lectures that resistance is the input impedance of the bipolar junction transistors when you are looking from this side. So the input impedance of the voltage divider bias circuit is the Zi. The expression I have calculated in my earlier lecture. You should refer those lecture. And now these two resistances, one is Rs, another is impedance. Although here Zi I have written, uh, but this Zi is not actually or practically it is in true sense it is impedance, because an impedance means it should contain a dissipating uh, element which is the resistance, and energy storing element which is the inductance or the capacitor. But in this case, in case of low frequency model, I have explained that this low frequency model does not contain any capacitor or resistor internal to the circuits. Therefore, this Zi purely resistive. So this resistance Rs and this resistance equivalent resistance Zi are associating these Cs. So let's see what will be the lower cutoff frequency due to the Cs. The calculation is very simple. You just have to find out the voltage across these Zi, and that voltage is the Vi, and Vi, if you apply voltage divider rule, Vi will be equals to Vs times the Zi divided by the summation of all of their impedances. So this is resistance Rs will appear over here, and the impedance of this capacitor is actually the reactance. So that is I'm considering as Xs for Cs, and Zi is the input impedance of the bipolar junction transistor. Now from here, if I take this Rs plus Zi out of this expression, so that will divide this Xs, and finally this Xs I have replaced as 1 by j omega Cx, and where I have written this omega as 2 pi f, and this procedure is the similar step I am following what I have followed uh, in describing the high pass filter in my last lecture. So here, other than the f, all other term I am clubbing them, and I named them as FLS. So that is the lower cutoff frequency due to Cs. So that is why S is appearing over here. And you can see, or you can confirm from this expression, where this FLS, the cutoff frequency, is appearing over this F, the variable frequency variable. So this response is the response of a high pass filter. It's looking like a high pass filter response, and the cutoff frequency includes these two resistance Rs as well as the input impedance of the bipolar junction transistors. And if we take the modulus of this gain Vi to Vs, so you will get the magnitude of the response of the high pass filter. Next, I will consider Cc. That is this capacitor, and when I'm considering this capacitor, I should consider this Cs and Ce. They are shorted. Therefore, I should look from this terminal in order to find the equivalent resistance which are or which is associating these capacitor. And obviously, when you are looking from this terminal, the equivalent impedance or resistance which is going to associate this capacitor is nothing but the output impedance of the bipolar junction transistor or the voltage divider configuration. And the expression for the output impedance I have calculated in my earlier lecture. You should refer for the expression of the Z0. The same expression will be followed over here. And here this Z0 and this RL are associating this CC. So therefore, from this diagram and comparing with the diagram I have discussed in my earlier slide, that means due to Cs, I can easily tell you that the lower cutoff frequency due to this CC is going to be defined uh, using the Z0 and RL in series. Let's see. This part of the analysis for CC will be similar to the second part of the analysis what I have followed for the CS case. So in this case, I am considering V naught dash is the voltage which is appearing across the Z naught, and V naught is the usual output voltage notation I am considering across the RL. But as I'm interested here to find out the equivalent resistors or the lower cutoff frequency, you may assume that some external voltage source you are applying which has a name equal to V naught, and you that is producing some current, and finally that uh, a derived voltage V naught dash is appearing across the Z naught due to the applied voltage V naught. And that V naught dash you can easily calculate by using the voltage divider rule, which will be equals to the applied voltage V naught times the Z naught divided by the summation of all of these their impedances which are exist over here. And following the similar step, I have taken this RL plus Z naught out from this expression, and I have written this XC as 1 by j omega c over here. And finally, I have clubbed all terms other than the F into one, and I named it as FLC, which is the lower cutoff frequency for CC, this capacitor CC, and that is equals to 1 over 2 pi RL plus Z naught times C. So RL and Z naught is coming in series, and they are defining when they are associating with this capacitor CC, so they are defining the lower cutoff frequency FLC, and that is obviously different than the lower cutoff frequency defined by the CS. And finally, this expression also tells you that the this expression is also looking like a high pass filter type response. Now the last one, that is the lower cutoff frequency I'm going to consider for CE or the bypass capacitor. And when I'm considering the CE, I should consider all other capacitor, that means the CS and CC should be shorted. In general case, when I have considered the amplifier, the voltage divider circuit, the amplifier, I have shown you that the current IB which flows from the base terminal enters into the emitter terminal, and similarly this IC which is equals to the HFE times IB, it also flows through the collector terminal and enters into the emitter terminal. And these two current defines the emitter current, because from the fundamental equation of the BJT we know emitter current is equals to the base current plus the collector current. So these two current defines the emitter current. And finally, the expression I have obtained in my earlier lectures, that is this IE is equals to IB times 1 plus HFE. So one IB is coming from the base terminal, and this IB plus HFE is coming from this terminal. But now what I'm going to find out, I'm going to find out the equivalent impedance which is or which should associate this CE because I'm going to find out the lower cutoff frequency due to this C. So therefore, I should look from this terminal in order to find the equivalent impedance that is going to associate this CE. So when I'm going to find out from this terminal, basically I'm going to find out the impedance or output impedance of an emitter follower, because this circuit is an emitter follower. When you are taking the output from the emitter terminal. I told at the very beginning of this course that that circuit is called the emitter follower or the common collector circuit in absence of this capacitor. So when you are looking from this terminal, that is the actually you are going to find out the output impedance of an emitter follower circuit. And the procedure what I'll follow over here, the same procedure is followed to find out the output impedance of the emitter follower circuit. We know how to find out the output impedance. That is, first short all the signal sources. Here Vs is the only source, that is why I have shorted that source over here, and I am placing an external voltage source which has I named it as VE, and that external voltage source is producing a current IE, and that current is flowing through this over this, because that current cannot flow through this, because as Vs is equals to 0, IB becomes 0 automatically, and since IB is 0, this current source is 0, and a 0 current source means these two terminal are open circuit. So therefore, this IE current which is being produced due to the application of some external voltage source VE cannot passes through this collector. It can only pass through this base terminal. So the equivalent circuit I can draw in this way. That is, this is the CE capacitor, this is the RE resistance, and here I have applied the external voltage source while I am looking uh, from this side in order to find the equivalent impedance, which includes all of these resistances, and that is nothing but the this voltage VE divided by this IE. But look at here, when you have applied some voltage VE which is producing some IE, that IE is entering into the base region. That means base region has a much smaller amplitude of the order of microampere in comparison to the IE, which has an amplitude of the order of milliampere, and that milliampere order is appearing due to this amplification factor, because when IB enters into the emitter region, that gets amplified due to this HFE IV factor, and finally their summation enters over here. Similarly, when you are applying some external voltage source, and that is producing IE which enters into the base region, that IE must be de-amplified, because I cannot handle milliampere order of current, it should handle microampere order of current, and that de-amplification factor will be same as the amplification factor was when IB enters into the emitter region. So that means from here you can see IE should be which is being produced due to this application of V. I'm assuming that is obviously will be 1 plus HFE times IB, and when it enters into the base region, that IB current becomes IE divided by 1 plus HFE. It's very simple there. And finally, you can find out the ratio of VE to IE to find out the equivalent resistance ZE when you are looking from this terminal. And you can see ZE is nothing but the RE parallel combination with the equivalent impedance, which is defined by this VE divided by IE, because VE is appearing across the RE. So RE when must appear parallel to the equivalent resistance, which is defined by VE divided by IE. Now, what is VE? VE is equals to the voltage across the HI, which is due to this current IB. That means IE divided by 1 plus HFE times HI, and due to this resistance RB parallel RS. So this current IB, which is equals to IE divided by 1 plus HFE, gets multiplied with this series combination of HI plus RB parallel RS, and that defines the VE. And from here, when you will take the ratio of VE to IE, that defines this impedance, and finally ZE will be the parallel combination of RE with this one. Therefore, the uh, cutoff frequency which is due to the CE must be due to the ZE and CE. So three cutoff frequencies I have obtained. One is for CS, another is for CE, and another is for CE. So which cutoff frequency we should choose as the final one, or we should choose an average? Let's see. Here I have listed the three cutoff frequencies what I have obtained from my previous analysis, and these three cutoff frequencies are associated with the three capacitors and the corresponding resistors. Obviously, these three cutoff frequencies are different from each other. And here is the plot that shows the appearance of these three cutoff frequencies on the x-axis or the frequency axis, which is in log scale. Now, which one you have to choose as the cutoff frequency? You must have to choose the cutoff frequency or of the entire circuit which has the highest value amongst the all of these three, because if you choose any one out of these three other than this one which has a highest value, then when you apply some input signal having some frequency within this range, that input signal will not be produced faithfully at the output due to this section or this part of the this value of the cutoff frequency, because that will be rejected due to this FE, and depending upon their value which one you have to choose, that should be decided which will have the highest value out of these three, so that should be your lower cutoff frequency for the circuit. The high frequency response. As I told at the beginning of this lecture that the high frequency response depends upon mainly two factors. First one is the capacitances, which is the parasitic capacitances and the network capacitances. We'll see what are the parasitic capacitors and network capacitors. And the second one is the frequency dependency of the forward current gain, which is HFE for the bipolar junction transistor. So right now I'm going to consider HFE is a function of the frequency, which I have not considered when I have discussed the voltage gain H parameter model. There I have considered that the HFE is constant. I do consider this is constant because I have assumed uh, without mentioning that HFE is basically the midband forward current gain. When you are considering the gain at at the midband mid frequencies, you can see from here AV here the example is shown using a voltage gain that is considered as a constant when you are within the midband frequency. Similarly, when HFE, what the HFE I have used in my all previous analysis and lectures, there I have assumed the HFE is associated with the midband frequency somewhere over here. That is why HFE I have assumed as a constant. But right now, since we have to consider the cutoff frequency, higher cutoff frequency over here, we must have to consider the exact expression of the HFE, which must be depending upon the frequency. While we are going to analyze the high frequency response, we must have to consider the capacitors responsible for the low frequency response, or the lower cutoff frequencies must be considered as a short circuit. That is why the CS, CC and CE I have assumed as shorted. These three capacitors which are appearing due to the junctions or physical junctions, that means the C CCB, which is appearing due to collector to base junction, and this CBE appearing due to the collector base to emitter junction. These are called the parasitic capacitors, and these two capacitors are appearing due to the physical junctions and due to the presence of the depletion region in between two conducting medium. And here the conducting medium means I want to mention the N-type or P-type material, and the depletion region which is depleted of free carriers can be considered as the uh, dielectric medium, which is sandwiched between the two conducting medium, which are either N-type or P-type material. However, this collector to emitter capacitor, which is appearing across this collector to emitter terminal, but that is not due to the physical junctions, because no physical junction exists between this collector to emitter. This capacitor is a cumulative effect of the collector these junctions, that means the collector to base junction and base to emitter junction. So when you are considering only collector to base, there you must have to consider a capacitor due to the influence of only this collector to base junction. And when you are considering the base to emitter junction, you have to consider only one capacitor due to the influence of this depletion region exists between base to emitter junction. But when you are considering this collector to emitter junction, not it is the physical junction, but when you are considering the collector to emitter terminal, here also you have to consider a capacitor due to the presence of these two depletion regions or two junctions mainly, and that the cumulative effect of their junctions must be you have to count into this capacitor CCE. So these three are called the parasitic capacitors. In addition to these parasitic capacitors, there exist two network capacitors which are called the wiring capacitors, and the CWI, which is called the input wiring capacitors, and that is appearing between this base contact and this ground terminal. And similarly, the CW0, this is appearing between the collector contact and this ground terminal. These capacitors we should consider at high frequencies, which were generally absent for low frequencies, because this current, electric current, can be considered as a electromagnetic signal, or it is electromagnetic signal, and at high frequencies, so there may be an interference of these signals, the current flowing through these base contact and this ground contact, because this base contact and this ground contact, these can be considered as two conducting medium which are separated by some dielectric medium, that is the air in between them. And if these two contacts are placed very close to each other, then at high frequency a capacitive effect may be experienced by the circuit, and that capacitive effect we are considering by considering these wiring capacitor or the network capacitor CWI at the input side and CW0 at the output side. You can see from the configuration of these capacitors that the CWI and CBE, these two capacitors are appearing parallel to each other, because these two capacitors, one terminal of these two capacitors are connected with the base contact, and other terminals of these two capacitors are connected with the ground directly. Similarly, these CCE and CW0, these two capacitors are also appearing parallel to each other. Only the CBC, base to collector capacitor, this is not appearing parallel to any of these capacitors, because their two terminals, one is connected with the base, another is connected with the collector. So we need an arrangement of the capacitor or the element in such a way that at least one terminal of this element must be connected with the common reference point, which is ground over here, so that uh, we can do our analysis in an easier way. So therefore we have to rearrange this capacitor CBC in such a way that this terminal or this terminal we have to connect with this ground, but we cannot connect with these terminals with the ground directly. So in order to do that, we have to follow some procedure. So that method is known as the Miller effect capacitor. So let's see how we can use the Miller effect capacitor and what is the Miller effect capacitor, so that we can decompose or we can connect one of its terminal to the ground directly, so that we can take the advantage of the parallel capacitors while we are going to analyze this circuit. In this diagram, I have presented the similar situation where the Z represents the capacitor, although this analysis is applicable for the impedance as well as capacitor or inductor, whatever the element you will consider. But the condition is that the element which is connected between this input node to the output node, in between some device. Here the device has a voltage gain, I am considering V0 to Vi, and this element is connected between its input node to output node, and we need to rearrange this impedance in such a way that one part of the impedance should appear from its input node to the common reference point, and another part of this impedance should appear from its output node to the common reference point. So what will be the value of the Zi, which is the derived one from the Z, and what will be the value of Z0, which is also a derived one from this Z. So let's start our analysis. I should consider a current which is flowing from Vi to V0 is I, as I have shown over here. And when I have decomposed this Z into two parts, Zi and Z0, I must have to consider the same I is flowing, and that I, this current is flowing from this input terminal to the common reference point through the Zi, and but in this case that I is flowing from this common reference point to this V0, and in by considering this current flow, I have maintained the current flow I through this Z, and basically this Zi and Z0 is comprising the same Z as long as I am considering this current I is flowing through both of these Zi to Z0. So that direction of the current of the I must be same as the direction of the current of the I was flowing through this Z. Therefore, from this initial circuit, we can write this I is equals to Vi minus V0 divided by the impedance Z. And from this circuit, from this from the for the input side, we can write this I is equals to Vi minus 0 divided by Zi. Similarly, for this output section, we can write this current is equals to 0 minus V0 divided by Z0. And since these three currents are same, we can equate these two currents and these two currents separately. For when we are equating these two current, that is Vi divided by Zi becomes equals to Vi minus V0 divided by Z. So we have this equation. And similarly, when we equate these two equation, I'm getting this equation. And for the first equation, if I take the Vi common from both sides, and I can cancel them, this Vi, and here I'm writing this ratio V0 to Vi as I'm taking Vi common from this expression. So this Vi is appearing uh, uh, at the denominator of this V0. So this V0 to Vi we can write as a voltage gain, because I have assumed the voltage gain of the device is AV, and that is related to the V0 to Vi. So we can write this as a voltage gain, and Vi gets cancelled from both sides. Now we can write this Zi is equals to Z divided by 1 minus AV. Since the impedance for a capacitor, which is 1 by j omega c, for the Zi, I'm considering that capacitor is 1 by j omega CMI. M stands for Miller capacitor. So this is the input capacitor, which is a derived one from the known capacitor value, which is a CBC. So if I replace here 1 by j omega CMI, so the similar term I have to replace over here, so Z should be 1 by j omega CBC, then CMI should be equals to CBC times 1 minus AV. So this, the Miller capacitor at the input side, we can write in this way. That means this a capacitor equivalent having the value equals to CBC times 1 minus AV, we can connect directly from the input terminal to the common reference point. Similarly, if you do the similar kind of analysis by equating these two equations and taking V0 common in this case and writing V0 to Vi as 1 by AV, we can have the output capacitor as CBC times 1 minus 1 by AV, and that capacitor we can connect between the output node to the common reference point. So therefore, the CBC we can right now uh, we can the CBC we can decompose into two part, and these two part we can write now can connect from the input terminal to the common reference point, and another one from the output terminal to the common reference point. So in the next, I'm going to replace the CMI and CM naught in place of the CBC. Look at here. The CWI, CMI, and CBC. This CBC is a CBE based emitter capacitor. These three capacitors are appearing parallel. Similarly, CCE, CM naught, and CW naught, these three capacitors are appearing parallel to each other. Now it's just you have to replace the equivalent model of this bipolar junction transistor, considering all three capacitors are parallel. And we know the parallel combination of capacitors can be represented as a simple summation of all of these three. So that is why Ci represents the input capacitor. Similarly, C0, which is summation of all three capacitors appearing at the output terminals, is the C0. And here is the small signal model where Ci is appearing due to these input capacitor, and this C0 is appearing for the output capacitors. And the small signal model includes this R0, this beta IB, and these ZB, which represents the input capacity, input impedance of the bipolar junction transistor, what I have calculated in my earlier lecture. The same input impedances uh, we can use over here also. Now we just have to find what is the equivalent resistance associating this Ci and what is the equivalent resistance associating this C0. Looking from this terminal, you can see the Thevenin equivalent resistance, which is nothing but the parallel combination of Zi, Rb, and Rs, and this parallel combination represents an equivalent resistance which is associating the Ci. Similarly, when you are considering C0, the impedance when you look from this terminal is nothing but the parallel combination of all these three. That equivalent impedance is going to associate this C0. And finally, we should have a cutoff frequency FHI associated with this RTHI, the Thevenin equivalent impedance, when you are looking from this terminal, which is the parallel combination of all these four resistors, where RB I have written in as the R1 parallel R2, or RB1 parallel RB2, whatever the notation you can use. And FH naught is the parallel combination of all three resistors, and due to that equivalent resistor, there is another cutoff frequency. So these two cutoff frequencies is appearing due to the combination of these network capacitors and the parasitic capacitors. As I told at the beginning of high frequency response, that the frequency response at higher frequency depends on due to the two factors, that is the parasitic capacitance and the network capacitance, which I have computed just right now, and the second factor is the frequency dependency of the forward current gain, or HFE. And since we can see from this nature of the curve that as I told in my at the beginning of this lecture, that this nature of the curve is looking like almost nature of the low pass filter. Therefore, this frequency dependency of this HFE we can easily write as the response of the low pass filter. That means F should be over this F beta, where F beta is the cutoff frequency corresponding to this frequency dependency of this HFE, and where HFE mid is that HFE, or the forward current gain, which is constant over this midband range. And this is this HFE I have used in my all previous analysis without mentioning this mid factor, because I have assumed that HFE is constant throughout my analysis, and that is constant because that is the midband gain I have considered in my previous lecture. But right now I should consider the entire operation of or entire expression of this HFE, which depends upon the frequency, and due to the frequency dependency of this HFE, there should a cutoff frequency, and that cutoff frequency is denoted as f beta. For this configuration, we just need to know what is f beta. The model appropriate for the high frequency response, and particularly to figure out the cutoff frequency associated with the HFE, is shown here, and this model is called the Giacoletti model or hybrid pi model, which is applicable for high frequency response of the bipolar junction transistor. This model includes this additional resistance Rb, which appears between the physical contact of the base and the internal contact of the base. The physical contact is represents this is a physical contact available for the designer, and this base contact is internal to the active region of the base. And this resistance includes the base contact resistance, the base bulk resistance, and the base spreading resistance due to the active region. R pi is appearing across the base to emitter terminal, and this R pi is same as Hi I have considered for the H parameter model, and it is also equal to the R similar input impedance what I have considered for the uh, small signal model of the bipolar junction transistor. The capacitor CBE is appearing across the base to emitter terminal is denoted as C pi, and the capacitor which is appearing across the collector to base junction is denoted as Cu, and the same resistance is appearing across the collector to base, and this value of the resistance is very high, so sometimes we consider this is open, so that resistance here is denoted as Ru. Following this model, it can be shown that the f beta or FHRE has an expression as 1 over 2 pi R pi times C pi plus Cu, and this is the first time where these two different capacitors are being included into one expression to give a cutoff frequency associated with this HFE. Now this R pi can also be written as beta Re, and this beta times Re, beta is nothing but HFE mid, which is the mid band forward current gain as I told, and this Re is associated with the emitter resistance when you consider the emitter current was flowing due to the influence of base to emitter voltage. This R pi, you should remember, I have incorporated into the small signal model by considering the flow of base current due to the influence of base to emitter voltage. Similarly, the Re we can incorporate over here due to presence of the emitter current due to the influence of the base to emitter voltage. So we can finally write this R pi as shown. So this is the general expression for the gain, we can say. So the general expression for the gain HFE or HFE, the forward current gain, for this case I have represented in this way, and this is a general expression for any kind of gain we can represent, and this expression takes the form of the low pass filter, because we have seen uh, the at the higher cutoff range the output deteriorates, starting from it was initially it was close to unity, or it was attaining a maximum peak, and finally it was uh, going to zero as frequency was increasing beyond some the higher cutoff frequency. So that is why at the higher frequency range, any kind of gain, the general expression of the gain takes the form of the low pass filter. So that is why I have represented in this way. So since the general expression of gain follows the form the low pass filter, similarly our forward current gain is also following the same expression of the low pass filter at the high frequency range. An important figure of merit is known as the gain bandwidth product. Look at here, when the gain initially was 100 for any arbitrary amplifier, the bandwidth is assumed as 1 MHz, and when the gain is reduced to 10, the bandwidth gets increased to 10 MHz, and they have increased, that means the bandwidth is increased and the gain is decreased in order to maintain the gain bandwidth product constant. So initially this was the gain of the amplifier and 1 megahertz was the bandwidth. Now you have reduced the gain to 10, so the bandwidth must be increased to 10 megahertz in order to maintain the gain bandwidth product constant. And this change takes place asymptotically as shown over here. Unity gain bandwidth. So this is another important factor we consider, because unity gain bandwidth means the bandwidth when gain is unity. So obviously when gain is unity or 1 equals to 1, the bandwidth what the device should have, that is the maximum one, and that is denoted as ft. So with gain is equals to 1 times the bandwidth, 1 times ft, is equals to the midband gain times the bandwidth when you are considering the midband gain, because the gain bandwidth product is constant always. So ft directly can be related with the gain at any point and the corresponding bandwidth. In our case, that means in the case of bipolar junction transistor, that unity gain bandwidth ft can be written as the product of HFE mid times the F beta, which defines the bandwidth due to the frequency dependency of the HFE. Here I am not considering the cutoff frequencies associated with the uh, parasitic capacitors and the wiring capacitors, because in general the F beta, that means the cutoff frequency due to the HFE, appears at much lower frequency than the cutoff frequency appearing due to the parasitic capacitors and the network capacitors what I have discussed. So that is why I am considering F beta over here. So this is defining our bandwidth, and HFE mid is the corresponding gain when I'm considering. So when I'm taking the product of them, so that product always will be equals to the unity gain bandwidth ft, because the gain bandwidth product is constant. And I have replaced the expression of f beta over here, and this r pi I'm writing as HFE mid times Re, as I have shown in my earlier slide. So this HEV mid now gets cancelled. So FT can finally be represented as 1 over 2 pi Re times C pi plus Cu. And this Re is associated with the emitter resistance when you are considering emitter current is flowing due to the influence of base to emitter voltage. So this is the end of the analysis of low frequency response and high frequency response of bipolar junction transistor.